We're about 3/4 of the way through the college basketball season, and March Madness is right around the corner. So it's time to take a look at the teams we like so far this season and the teams we don't like. Jason, let's start with who do you like coming down the stretch as we get towards March Madness?
I'm a big fan of the talent that Indiana has and their ability to score the basketball. I really like Indiana. I like Michigan because they can score as well. Florida, we talked about it with the matchup coming up tonight against Kentucky. Florida, the way they can defend and the way that they can score as well. Miami is a really intriguing team. If you look at Miami's roster and the makeup of the 8 guys that really is a part of their rotation, 5 of those guys for Miami are age of 23 and older or will turn 23 later on this year, including Kenny Kaji, who's 25 years old and older than Kevin Durant. So they've got that physical presence and that physical maturity over the other teams that they're facing off against. And Tom Izzo in Michigan State. I think Adrian Payne is a guy that if he plays the way that he did against Indiana on the road at Assembly Hall, that Michigan State can really be one of those teams that moves into the upper echelon elite teams, you know, with the 5, 6, 7 teams, however many you want to throw in there, teams that you like can really win a national championship. I think Michigan State is one of those that they've got the inside presence. They've got Keith Appling on the outside. They've got some guys off the bench that can come in and help out as well. And if Adrian Payne can continue his game that he played against Indiana on a consistent basis, one, he can earn himself a ton of money in the NBA draft coming up in June, and the other is that he can carry Michigan State to a deep run in the NCAA tournament, and Tom Izzo has the pedigree.
I like a lot of those same teams. Here's my list. I'll talk to you about Miami because I'm kind of with you on that. I mean, they've got all the ingredients. I mean, they've got solid guard play, experience, a good rotation of big guys, and a coach who's been there.
Exactly.
Took George Mason to the Final Four a while back. The only thing that scares me a little bit is Miami is not known for NCAA tournament success. Can they handle that? But they've got a veteran group. Well, they may be able to offset that a little bit.
It's like picking Pittsburgh, you know.
Yeah, right.
You pick Pittsburgh and you're like, well, you understand what you're doing. You understand you're picking Pittsburgh if you're doing that.
The 5 teams I like you, I'm on the Hoosier bandwagon. I think they showed me a lot. They lost a tough game to Illinois. And, you know, they could have let that loss linger for a while, but then came back and pounded a pretty good Ohio State team on the road in Columbus. Michigan State, hey, I've learned, never count out Tom Izzo. And he's got a team that seems to be rounding into form right now. I think they could easily end up in Atlanta. Michigan also showed me a lot against Ohio. That Ohio State win, that to me is the kind of win that championship teams are made of. I mean, against a good team back and forth, they made the plays in the end. I'll tell you, I like Gonzaga. You know, they've got, to me, a complete roster. Kelly Olynyk, versatile big guy, good experienced guards. I think they're a dark horse to get to Atlanta. Last but not least, Butler. Not the most talented team, but I'll tell you what, Brad Stevens maximizes the talent he's given. And these guys just have a knack for winning close games. I mean, you look at what they did against Gonzaga, what they did against Indiana. To me, that bodes well for March Madness. So now let's move on to the fun part, Jason, and talk about the teams you do not like as we head to March Madness.
Well, the teams I don't like, I think Duke is one of those teams that, you know, I don't know what the health of Ryan Kelly is. And so right now I can't put Duke as one of those teams that I think is going to go and make a run in the NCAA tournament. I think they have a fantastic resume when Ryan Kelly was there, but I think they have maximized really more of their potential than some of the other teams. They've hit their ceiling than some of the other teams. I think Duke is up there. Kansas scares me, even though last night they throttled Kansas State, which was the least surprising thing that you'll ever see in college basketball because they've won 46 of the last 49. They own Kansas State. Kansas scares me because they're Ben McLemore and Jeff Whippy and a bunch of just parts that are okay. They don't have the backcourt to set everybody else up. Travis Relaford is a defensive stopper, and that's about it. Arizona, I picked them early on preseason to go to the Final Four, and I backed off that a little bit. They scare me a number of different things, and Mark Lyons, while he's done a nice job running the point, it's still a combo guard that's relied on running the point. Ohio State, I worry because they're still trying to find that second score. Maybe LaQuinton Ross becomes that second scorer, but until they find that, Aaron Craft that's not his game. They're relying sometimes. They're relying on Aaron Craft to get some points. And we disagree on Gonzaga a little bit, and here's the reason. I'm with you. I like Gonzaga, and if Gonzaga's in Atlanta, I would not be shocked whatsoever. I think they are definitely one of the teams that could get there. But what scares me about Gonzaga is the fact that defensively, they can be a liability at times. And I love Kelly Olynyk, and Pangos can shoot as well as anybody, and Stockton has the pedigree, but all three of those guys have their liabilities defensively at times on the court, and there's a number of minutes that those guys play together on the court at the same time, and you've got three guys that defensively don't stack up. That scares me with Gonzaga, that I think they can get into a game that late in the game the defense isn't there enough. But I still think Gonzaga is a talented team. But
yeah,
defensively, the only thing that scares me.
One thing that concerns me about them, too, I like them, but the lack of – they've been running through the West Coast Conference for the last month or two. You wonder how battle-tested. But, you know, they're not afraid of the big lights. They've been in the spotlight before. But, again, they haven't been as battle-tested as maybe some of the other top teams. But now here's the teams that I don't like. Top of the list, Syracuse. You know, I really don't know why. I think maybe their history is scaring me off a little bit.
Yeah.
James Sutherland is back. I just think offensively they could get bogged down at times. They really don't have a true post threat in the middle. You know, they've got good guard play, some good guys on the wing. They don't have anybody down low that scares you. DeJuan Coleman hadn't developed. Rakeem Christmas is okay. They really don't have a big guy, and that, to me, they just rely too much on their guards. And again, Syracuse just so many times has flamed out early. I think psychologically that may be affecting me a little bit.
Yeah, Fab Melo was one of the bigger reasons why they were supposed to go as far as they were supposed to go last year. He's not there. Rakeem Christmas hasn't really grown into that, so I agree with you on that one too. And Jeremy Grant is a guy that, you know, with James Sutherland being out, is a guy that's got more minutes, but now Sutherland is back, so how does that dynamic work?
Florida, and you know, I've gone back and forth on Florida. Florida just scares me just because from the standpoint, I don't know if there's something seems to be missing with these guys. That's why I think Kentucky, I don't know if it's toughness or what, but I think Kentucky's got a good chance to go in there and steal one tonight. I just think when push comes to shove, I think Billy Donovan had a special group of guys with that Brewer, Noah, Horford group. But since then, a lot of his teams have underperformed. Had Louisville on the ropes, couldn't deliver the knockout blow. Something about this team just suggests, you know, something's going to go wrong in March and they might not make it all the way. Arizona, same thing. I mean, you know, over-reliance on freshmen, not great guard play. The Pac-12 hasn't been, you know, is down a little bit this year. I expect them to get a 2 seed and go out early. Kansas, same reasons. Bill Self, I mean, I think he really, you know, the whole Elijah Johnson situation where he just trashed him. Yeah. And they got back on track last week, but there seems to be a lack of not only depth and talent, but maybe some chemistry issues as well. And Ohio State, not a second scorer. I think they're a good team, but Deshaun Thomas alone isn't enough for them to make a deep run in March. So it's going to be probably one of the most wide open, you know, tournaments in a long time. Let me ask you about our local teams, Louisville and Kentucky. Would you put them in the don't like, or don't know category?
I would move Louisville from. You know what? I still think I would have Louisville on the fringe of like because of the way that they defend, because they are as good as anybody in the country playing defense, and you're supposed to have better backcourt play from veterans like Russ Smith and Peyton Siva. It's just been so inconsistent that that's scary. Kentucky, I think, would still be in the don't know category at this point with the opportunity to learn a lot tonight at Florida. If they go out and play well, then I think I can move Kentucky starting to move them into the like because I'm a sucker for talent, and Kentucky's got it.
Right.